Last night, the NBA kicked off their second day of their fourth year of the NBA play-in tournament. This time, it was the Eastern Conference, starting with the 7 and 8 seeds, the Philadelphia 76ers and the Miami Heat. These are two teams that semi-underperformed during the regular season. The Sixers were the 3 seed in the Eastern Conference in January when reigning MVP Joel Embiid went down with a meniscus injury, causing him to miss a majority of the rest of the regular season. And on the Miami Heat side, they've dealt with injuries as well this year. Tyler Hero was out for a while, but we all know what Miami is capable of. If you don't remember, last season, they lost this 7-8 play-in game, would beat the Hawks to get the 8 seed, upset the Bucks, go all the way to the NBA Finals. And that's what got me excited about this game, because whoever ends up winning is going to give the New York Knicks hell in a 7-game series. This video is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. If you haven't heard of it, it's an app that allows you to pick higher or lower on your favorite players from your favorite sports. They're running a new customer special. Anthony Edwards needs just 1 point in game 1 of Wolves Suns on Saturday. Pair that with code Hardwood for a full deposit match up to $100. One more thing, to celebrate the recent success on the channel, I am doing a 15,000 subscriber giveaway. The winner gets a signed jersey of their choice. You can enter by both joining the Hardwood Discord and following me on Twitter. I highly recommend joining the Discord anyway. It's a fun place to be. We're doing watch parties for the play-in tournament and the playoffs and an NBA bracket challenge. The link is in the description to join. We'll see you over there. The first half was all Miami. They came out in a zone that was stifling the 76ers on offense, leading by 12 at half, with the Sixers only scoring 39 points. This is what I love about the Miami Heat. They have some of the best game plans in the entire league. Erik Spoelstra is one of the best coaches in the NBA, and he always seems to get the most out of his players, no matter the talent level. Joel Embiid looked pretty rusty in this game, but that is to be expected. He's only been back for a few games coming off that meniscus tear. But there was one other thing that happened in this first half we have to mention. Jimmy Butler went down in serious pain, holding his knee at the end of the first quarter. And although he would somehow stay in this game and play the rest of it, he would only go 3 for 14 the rest of the game. You could tell this injury was limiting him and was affecting him severely. And as I'm recording this right now, Shams put out a tweet saying the expectation, unfortunately, is that he's going to be out multiple weeks with an MCL injury, which really sucks because in the playoffs, you want every team to be at full strength. And now we've had in back-to-back nights, massive injuries for the Pelicans and the Heat in Zion and Jimmy. In the second half, the Sixers would cut the lead to just 5 points, 74-69 by the end of the third quarter, scoring 30 points in that quarter alone, which was setting us up for another dramatic but eventful fourth quarter to a 7-8 game, just like the Pelicans-Lakers the other day. Joel Embiid would hit this 3-pointer, putting the Sixers up with 2:33 to go, 93-91. Tyler Hero on the very next possession hits a 3 of his own, putting the Heat back in front. And then Joel Embiid gets an and 1. Sixers back up by 2. Hayward Highsmith comes down for the Heat with a floater to tie the game. And this is what I love about the play-in tournament. We get some really good games, especially in these 7-8 matchups. Kelly Oubre would have a clutch and 1 with 36 seconds to go, which would all but seal it for Philadelphia. Nicholas Batum had an absolutely clutch block on Tyler Hero on the ensuing Heat offensive possession, and the Sixers end up winning 105-104. If you're a Heat fan, you felt like this game was yours, but Philadelphia was relentless on the offensive end, and even though it felt like they couldn't get it going in the first half, they finally did just that, completely wearing down that Heat defense. As for the Sixers, they go on to play the New York Knicks in a 2-7 matchup, and my hope is that Joel Embiid is going to be fully ready to go for this series. He didn't look like himself tonight, but I'm guessing that is still him just getting acclimated, and it shows up in the box score as well, as Embiid went 6 for 17 from the field, which is good for 35% and his second worst night from the field on the season. His worst was that Golden State Warriors game that he got hurt in, ending up tearing tearing his meniscus, and that was a game that he probably shouldn't have been playing in anyway because his knee was sore. Tyrese Maxey didn't necessarily have the greatest game either by his standards, playing 44 minutes, 19 points, 6 for 16 from the field, and 6 assists. But the MVP for the Sixers, in my opinion, and probably everybody's, was Nicholas Batum. In 28 minutes, he went 7 for 12 from the field, 6 for 10 from 3, and 20 points, which was massive for Philadelphia. He was also good on the defensive end as well. On the Miami side, both of their stars, Jimmy Butler and Tyler Herro, struggled from the field, with Jimmy going 5 for 18 and Tyler Herro 9 for 27. Oddly enough, it was Miami's bench that was massive for them in this game. Every single player off the bench had a positive plus minus, and every single starter had a negative. But let's talk more about this Sixers-Knicks matchup. These two teams have met 4 times this year, with the Sixers going 1-3, but both teams were struggling with injuries. So it had me wondering, were either teams at full strength in these 4 matchups? The first one took place on January 5th, and both teams were at full strength in this one. It was just after OG Anunoby got traded from the Raptors to the Knicks, and New York blew out Philadelphia. The second one took place on February 22nd. There was no Joel Embiid for the Sixers, no OG Anunoby for the Knicks, and the Knicks again would blow out the Sixers. On March 10th, their third matchup of the year, the Sixers would win in a low-scoring affair, 79-73, same as above, no Joel Embiid, no OG. And then 2 days later, on March 12th, with no Joel Embiid and OG being back for the Knicks again would blow out the Sixers, 106-79. But here's the thing. We all know the Sixers are a completely different team with the reigning MVP. According to StatMuse, the Sixers are 31-8 with Joel Embiid this year, which means without him, they were 16-27. And this is why I say this will be a difficult matchup for New York. It would have been better to get the 3 seed, play the Pacers with a Halliburton that I believe is not at full strength. To be the 2 seed and your reward is playing Philadelphia with a healthy Joel Embiid is just brutal. But at the same time, the Knicks are 20-3 when OG Anunoby plays, so it's not like this is going to be a series that the Sixers are favored in. This is honestly one of my favorite matchups of the entire NBA playoffs. I think this one is going to 7 games, and let's be honest, Joel Embiid's legacy is on the line in this one. He's been to the playoffs 6 times and never made an Eastern Conference Finals. This would be the year to break that stigma in the most grandiose way. Be a team that with you, you're incredible. Without you, your team slips all the way to the 7 seed, but you fight back, you upset the Knicks, and get yourself to your first Eastern Conference Finals in your career. I really think this is important for Joel Embiid because we all know the criticism he gets online and in the media. And while Joel Embiid is a fantastic basketball player, a lot of it is warranted in the playoffs. I'm not going to say that he hasn't had some of the worst injury luck and just bizarre things happen in the playoffs, but at the end of the day, when we look back on his career, this is going to be a blemish if he doesn't get this monkey off his back. Last thing I'll say about this game, when it comes to the Heat, they will play the winner of the Bulls and the Hawks on Friday night, most likely without Jimmy Butler, which is brutal. Hopefully Terry Rozier is back for them. He was out in this game. I want to see Jimmy Butler in the playoffs, so my hope is they rest him Friday. It's not as bad as they think it is. They get the 8 seed and we see some drama in a Heat Celtics matchup in the first round. But let's be honest, what's most likely is he's out at least a couple weeks with an MCL injury, which is a devastating blow for Miami. On to our second game of the night, the 9-10 matchup in the East, the Chicago Bulls and the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks were missing some key pieces in this game, namely Jalen Johnson, their best young player, and a guy they need to build around for the future, but also Onyeka Okongwu and Saddiq Bey. We'll cut right to the chase with the game recap of this one. The Bulls blew out Atlanta. They took a 40-22 lead in the first quarter, and while the Hawks would battle back, getting it to 12 at halftime, the second half was not close. The saddest part about this game is we had another unfortunate injury, this one happening in the most bizarre ways. Alex Caruso, the Bulls and potentially the NBA's best perimeter defender, sprained his foot when teammate Andre Drummond stepped on it around half court. It sounds like there's a good chance he does not play on Friday. I'm sick of these injuries in the this playoffs. You have Zion, you have Jimmy, you got Alex Caruso, and then you have guys like Giannis and Kawhi that may not play to start their series. Coby White was phenomenal in this game, a career high 42 points on 15 for 21 from the field, 9 for 10 from the free throw line, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists. The Bulls are going to be relying on Coby to carry them on Friday, especially with Caruso being out. Nikola Vucevic had 24 points and 12 boards. DeMar DeRozan, 22, 9 assists, 6 boards. I feel for the Bulls because this is the second time that they've had a below 500 record and have been just one game away from the playoffs, last season being the same. It's such a tough position to be in because you don't want to blow everything up and completely rebuild, but you'd also love to have a top pick. Maybe not in this year's draft, but in most years' drafts. It's tough to just always be sitting around that 500 mark and not picking a direction of where your franchise is going to go. It's safe to say they have a lot of things they have to figure out this summer. On the Atlanta side, this is my personal opinion, but it's time to blow it up. I could be convinced to keep maybe one of DeJounte Murray or Trae Young, but honestly, if I had it my way, I'm trading them both. I'm trading Clint Capella, I'm trading DeAndre Hunter, and I'm trading Bogey. I'm building around Jalen Johnson and Kobe Buffkin. You have 2 potential first-round picks in this year's draft. If the Kings beat the Pelicans on Friday, then you officially will. And speaking of the Kings, really quickly, Zion has been reported to be out on Friday and being reevaluated in 2 weeks with a hamstring injury. Absolutely devastating blow for New Orleans and honestly, the game of basketball. I have no clue how many organizations I would least like to be more than Atlanta. They're in such a tough position here to go from overachieving in 2021, making an Eastern Conference Finals, to where they're at now in 2024. It's a super tough position to be in as a general manager. Trae Young was a whopping minus 27 plus minus tonight in 43 minutes, had 22 points and 10 assists. I'm honestly not a Trae Young hater. I've defended him in the past, but I think it is safe to say at this point, it's not working out in Atlanta with the roster they've constructed around him. Unfortunately, it is probably time to move on. The only problem is, how are you going to get a good enough return on these players you want to move off of? There has to be trade partners willing to buy at your said price point. Plus, to make matters worse, Atlanta does not have their own first-round pick in 2025. So that also makes it hard to just want to completely blow it up. But that's why in today's NBA, you don't trade tons of firsts in the future away because you don't know where you're going to be at in 3 years. The Hawks in 2021 probably thought we are going to be a contending team for a really long time. And then they make that move for DeJounte Murray and look at them now. The NBA has never been more competitive and things can change at the drop of a hat. Tomorrow night, our final 2 games of the play-in tournament will take place, with the winners getting the 8th seed in each conference, the New Orleans Pelicans and the Sacramento Kings on the west side, and on the east, the Chicago Bulls and the Miami Heat. Normally, I would easily pick New Orleans and Miami in this one, but given their injuries they have, I'm going to go with Sacramento in the west. I'm still going with Miami Heat in the east. They've shown incredible resilience, even without Jimmy Butler, and I think Erik Spoelstra finds a way to get it done. Plus, if the Bulls don't have Caruso, that's also a massive blow to them. That does it for day 2 of the NBA play-in tournament explained. I hope you guys are enjoying these videos. If you enjoyed this one, check out the video I made on everything you need to know before the NBA playoffs. It's still relevant until the games tip on Saturday. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate all of the support. If you ever have any feedback, any comments, suggestions, put them in the comments or join the Discord and let me know. I appreciate it. And as always, we'll see you on the hardwood.